Please. Hey everybody, welcome to today's edition of Thursday Q&A with Babette Haggerty. And I have a very special guest with me today. Where's my little friend over here? Come here, Brix. Come here, buddy. Thank you. Oh, isn't he the cutest? Look at him. That's Brixton. Brixton, say hi. Yes, Brixton has been with me for a whole 4.5 hours. I picked him up at 9 a.m. this morning from another foster home, and he proceeded to throw up all over my car. That was a lot of fun. And so I'll be fostering Brixton. He's going to couch surf. Hopefully not too long, but, we want to get him a good home. He's with the French Bulldog Rescue Group. He hasn't been cleared for adoption yet, so don't, go crazy PMing me yet because he's not ready yet. But we're going to do some training with him. He was in a home. He's 1.5 years old. He was in a home, and I guess the owner went back to work. And that's what happens when you buy a puppy in a pandemic. And then you go back to work, and then you have to get rid of your dog, which I don't agree with. I'm just saying that's the thought process that's going on. And just yesterday in one of my trade journals, I was reading about there's now starting to become a decrease in demand for shelter dogs. And it's because people are starting to go back to work. So if you go back to work, you really don't have to get rid of your dog. You could do daycare. You could get a dog walker. And truthfully, people always kind of look at me funny when I say this. But yes, Pat, this is my new roommate, and his name is Brixton, and he's quite handsome. He's a good hugger, and he's got a nice soft coat, and he's just filled with sweetness. So yes, this is my new roommate, and he will be sleeping with me tonight. And anyway, so, a lot of people think like, oh, I have a job, and I can't afford to send my dog to daycare. You know what? 30 years ago, 20 years ago, nobody sent their dogs to daycare. For decades, people did not send their dogs to daycare. You don't have to send your dog to daycare as long as you give your dog adequate exercise and you spend time with them when you are home. Dogs don't sit there. Yes, Maureen, he's absolutely adorable. Isn't he sweet? Do you want another dog? He's much quieter than Miss Daisy. But anyway, so, don't feel like you have to be able to send your dog to daycare. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with sending your dog to daycare, but for decades, people had dogs and did not send their dogs to daycare. So it's quite okay to have a dog and not send it to daycare. Your dog is not going to find themselves on the proverbial couch at the dog shrink's office saying, oh, my owners never put me in dog daycare, Dogs don't think like that. They're content when you give them attention when you're home. If you walk them and you exercise them properly, it'll all be good. Believe me, your dog doesn't need for you to be home as much as you think they do. They are quite content sleeping on the sofa, sleeping in their crate, hanging out with their bone. They enjoy the peace and quiet. And I know there's some people watching here, and me included, that enjoy the peace and quiet. You can't tell me that you don't love it when no one else is home and it's just you. Your dog loves it too. I promise you that. So don't feel so guilty leaving your dog home. You don't have to get rid of your dog just because you're going back to work. There are ways to exercise your dog. And a lot of people have this false notion that, oh, I have this really active dog, so I just need to run them 5 miles a day. And then what ends up happening is you have to run them 7 miles a day because they've built up their endurance. People forget it's not just physical exercise, it's the mental stimulation too. And I know that someone who told me once, oh, Maureen said, no, thank you. Okay, that's all right. I think between Brandy and Daisy, you're pretty good. She's so cute. I love Maureen. And I'm pretty sure that this very intelligent, wonderful lady whose dogs we take care of here, she was the one who, she used to send at the time she had one dog, she used to send her dog to daycare every day. And then when we started our canine enrichment program, she was the first to sign up, and she sent me a text that night with a picture of her dog just relaxed on the bed, sound asleep. She said, what did you do to my dog today? She said, one day with you in canine enrichment, she is more wiped out than she is every day going to daycare. And there's a very important difference there. Canine enrichment, we are mentally stimulating them, not just physically stimulating them. So you can accomplish more in just a 15-minute, 20-minute exercise workout a lot of times than just running your dog for 1 or 2 miles a day. because you're giving them that mental stimulation. It's not just the physical exercise that counts. And, oh, Brixton, why'd you jump down, buddy? Okay. So, Brixton, is that what he was doing?
Yeah, he was literally falling asleep.
You're falling asleep. Well, you felt like you were jumping.
Right now,
He is a little tired. He did get neutered this week. So, and he's had some exercise this morning. You want to fall asleep? You can fall asleep on my arm, sweetheart. He's so cute. So it's you will accomplish more with your dog in 15 minutes of training than you very well could in a half an hour jog around the block. So keep that in mind. Now, we've had some good problems that have come up this week that I want to address. One, a girl wrote to us from California. I'm moving to the New Jersey area, she tells us, to the Bergen County area, and I have a dog who's aggressive with other dogs at the dog park. And I guess we need group classes. No, you don't need group classes. You need to learn how to manage your dog properly. If you can't manage your dog properly, and she also included that when she walks the dog, he lunges and pulls and barks aggressively at other dogs. If you can't manage your dog and your dog doesn't know how to behave on a leash, oh, he is falling asleep now, and he doesn't know how to behave on a leash, you're certainly not going to have that off-leash control over him that you desperately need. In a group class, you're not going to get the one-on-one attention because 90% of the problem is going to be solved through teaching you how to handle your dog properly and teaching your dog proper skills so that they aren't triggered by other dogs. You're utilizing the leash properly, so you're not adding to it. And once your dog is well behaved on a nice loose leash, you know how to handle your dog has learned voice and hand signals, then you can put your dog in more of a group environment. But a group class is not going to give you what you need. It's not to say that group classes aren't good. Group classes are good. But a lot of people mistakenly think that, oh, my dog's not good with dogs, so I'm going to put them with other dogs. You have to take baby steps. It's step 1, step 2, step 3. Don't go all the way to step 5. He's not ready for it. Just like in school, we don't know how to do algebra until we know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Then we can go into algebra. So don't throw your dog in with other dogs that are not good with other dogs, because that's overstimulation, and it's going to make the problems worse. You need to know how to handle your dog properly. Your dog needs to learn how to behave himself without the triggers around. So once you get the dog behaved in a situation where without the other triggers, then you can slowly build up your distractions. Okay. Can you help us? My dog pulls very strongly on the leash, and only my husband is strong enough to walk the dog. It's not about strength. It's about energy and teaching the dog to walk properly on a leash. You want your dog to learn to look at you, focus on you, and not drag you behind. It's not to say that your dog can't smell in nice walks, and yes, dogs do enjoy smelling the sights of the world, but it's important that your dog learns to just watch you and walk on a loose leash, paying attention to you, not dragging you all over the place, because you should be in charge, not your dog. That's a super important aspect that people really forget, is you have to be in charge of your dog. You want to get down? I think he wants to get down. Do you want to put him in his crate? Because I definitely think he needs a nap. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Oh, thanks. So again, if you're interested in Brixton, please, you can PM me or call the school. He's not officially up for adoption yet. I'm just looking to see if we have any questions. I know questions always seem to come in after we come off. I don't think people realize that when they're watching the replay, that they're watching the replay because they write in as though they're watching it live. So if you have written me questions and I didn't answer it right there, I do apologize. It's because you're actually not watching it live. So I do have one important announcement. Gary Wilkes is going to be coming in October. We haven't actually solidified the date. It's either going to be Columbus Day weekend or the following weekend, which would be like October 16th. He and I have to connect, but we are tentatively committed to Gary coming out for either a 2 or 3 day seminar here in New Jersey. So I'm really excited to have him. He's a great trainer. He has a great way of explaining things. And he's really the one who started the clicker revolution when it came to dog training. I'm just looking through my notes to see if I have any other questions that came through this week. We had a lot of repeat questions this week. And also, if you're not on our Facebook family group and you are a student of ours, please join our Facebook group so that you can ask questions during the week and in between training sessions. I had another dog this week that, she said, oh, he does well in his lessons, but, I took him out and I walked him, towards the dog park and he was pulling. I said, well, you can't do that. Your first couple of sessions when you're initially training your dog, stay away from all those triggers. You really want to start your dog in a very non-distracting environment before you throw them into a distracting environment. It's super important because you're not ready for it. The dog's not ready for it. And it just goes back to what we were talking about before, is that you have to give your dog step-by-step instructions. You have to teach them in small incremental ways how to behave in a sterile environment first before you start putting them with all of these different distractions and all these triggers. Again, you have to, and you also have to not let them do that. The biggest thing I see with people when they come in for training is they're looking at their dog. It's, don't look at your dog. Look where you're walking. Your dog is supposed to walk with you. You're not walking with your dog. Don't look to your dog for direction. Your dog wants to look to you for direction. So it's super important that we also change our mindset and how we're looking at our dog. I received a very nice note from Marina Ozuna. She's a great trainer out in Arizona, and she's doing a seminar this weekend at NADOI about the suburbanization of dogs and our dogs who they once were. And it's a very interesting look, perspective on how dogs have changed over the last 20 years. And I've seen it too. A couple of big things that I've noticed is, as we brought dogs closer to the home, people expect more from their dogs much more quickly. And you have to understand your dog is a dog. He's an animal. He doesn't think with human emotions. They are very in the moment animals. And people also look to them, I think, as though they're a machine, and they say, well, he's had 3 lessons. Why doesn't he know how to cross the street by himself yet without my telling him to, go pick up the groceries for me, or whatever it is. In other words, what I'm saying is people have unreasonable expectations for their dog. They think their 10-week-old puppy is going to be perfect just because he's come to a couple of puppy classes. And that's just not the case. You have to work with your dog. Even now, my children are 20 and 16. I find myself having to remember, did you say thank you? Did you send that thank you note? I have to remind them of their manners. I have to remind them of certain things that we think of every day. Did you brush your teeth? Did you remember to brush your teeth? Did you wash your face? Did you clean your ears? Same thing with your dog. You have to sometimes remind your dog. And they're animals, so they always want to learn. They're not just abracadabra, boom, you're perfectly behaved. It doesn't work like that. So as we've gotten closer to our dogs and the more we work with our dogs, I think the more we expect of our dogs. But you also have to keep your expectations in check. You have to make sure that you're not being unreasonable with your expectations on your dog. Another point that she had brought forward was, the breeding of dogs. The way breeding has changed so much. And in the next few weeks, I'm trying to confirm a couple of different breeders that I think the world of that are coming on here. What to look for in a dog, what to look for in a breeder. Especially in the pandemic, people just rushed out and just bought the cute puppy. And it's not always the cute puppy in the window that you want to get. You want to get the dog that's right for you. You want to find out its breeding. You want to find out what kind of socialization it's had. You want to find out about the health testing that the breeder has done, etc. Those are super important things that you really have to find out about. And I'm going to teach you how to, what questions to ask and how to find the right breeder. Another thing that came up the other day was someone had said, I'm going to get my dog neutered. He's 5 months. We're going to neuter him early to stop the accidents in the house. One thing has nothing to do with the other. Okay? Your dog is having accidents in the house because you're letting it have accidents in the house. If you, I know we have the link somewhere, and I'll have to put it in the description here, to download our house training program. If you follow our house training program to the T, your accidents will stop immediately. You will no longer have accidents. Neutering does not help with the accidents. Now, neutering can help if you have a leg lifting problem and a marking problem. It can. It doesn't always. It can. But chances are your 5-month-old puppy is not lifting his leg and marking his territory. You are giving him the opportunity to have accidents in the house. So remember, one thing has nothing to do with the other. Neutering stops the dog from breeding. It does not stop the dog from having accidents in the house. And actually, quite often, I have seen it on more than one occasion, more so bitches than dogs, but that they do regress a little bit in their house training after being spayed or neutered. And I've also seen dogs that are neutered or spayed too soon they tend to not be able to hold, they become incontinent, especially as they get older. They're more likely to become incontinent. So it's super important to delay that spaying and neutering as long as you possibly can. And please don't spay or neuter your dogs when thinking that it's going to improve the house training. If you properly house train your dog, your accidents will stop immediately. So you guys are pretty quiet today. So I think that is all, and I'm almost out of time. So I'm going to go off. I've got a couple of dogs I have to work, and I'm finally going to get my hair done. It's been pandemic ponytail for too long. Anyway, I really thank you guys for coming. We will be here next week, and tune in Monday to Instagram. We're going to do My Story Monday at 12:45, I think it is. And we'll put a post up on there. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please give us a holler. And thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.